agenda, a little crazy, and get a little wild out there. But I see, let me just see, we got Marna. I hope I said that right. Marna, welcome. And as others join, let us know where you're coming in from. If you're on team replay, let us know that also. But I'm excited. Haven't had one of these conversations in a long time since I've been on LinkedIn, but I don't know what could possibly go wrong. We got a sales guy, we got a marketer, and we got a therapist on here. So this is a counselor. It's going to get crazy on this conversation. But I don't know about you all. I just want to laugh for a while. And I'd love to show some screenshots today, but I'm going to protect some people, so I won't show some screenshots. But just some of the things that you see go down in the DMs and LinkedIn in general. So if you're on live or on replay, let us know what some of the craziest things are that you've seen happen in your DM. And for now, what I want to do is look at some introductions in here. So Krista up here out in the mountains of France. We're not jealous. Is there snow over there yet?
No, it's not any snow, but I just posted on LinkedIn, if you guys come to my profile, that it's a really beautiful fall with the beautiful typical colors. And I'm taking full advantage of that because compared to San Francisco, where the really doesn't change all year round, it's like springtime, the trees don't change colors. I'm actually enjoying it.
Nice. It's here in New York. There's no leaves left on the trees. They're all gone here already. So there you go. And then Jamal, he's on the East Coast with me also, back down there in DC. What's it like on DC today?
It's absolutely beautiful, man. Again, I'm originally from LA, so I know what it's like to not see anything change. And then to come here and to see all the red, the neon, the orange, the yellow, it's beautiful. So I'm excited in the midst of a bunch of meetings today to poke my head out. And Krista knows I'm always in the woods anyway, so to get into nature and to get some time of meditation in.
Well, I think that's a great way to start this conversation. And I have my screens a little different. So if you see me looking here once in a while, so I'm just making sure everything stays connected there. Usually it's in front of me. Sun position today has that changed. But I think that's a great conversation. I mean, I think sometimes you get some of these DMs on LinkedIn and you just want to go outside and go for a walk. You're like, really? That person just sent me that or did this, And I mean, I'll say one of the craziest things I've seen lately with this inundation of AI, and I'm not knocking AI when I say this. I like AI. I use AI for everything, but the level of bots and how they actually work to where I knew the person DMing me, I knew him. And I just replied back, yo, man, you know me. Like, how hard is it to text me? Like that well, I knew the person. Like, just text me. The bot replies back, and I'm like, dude. And then, like, I sent them screenshots on his text, and he's just like, oh, man, it works like a charm. I send those messages out all day long. For every couple hundred hit, I get 2 or 3 people that want to talk to me. I'm like, okay. And, like, it was just the sloppiest messaging on there. But I'd love to just get some insight of some of the crazy things you've seen, Krista. Like, why don't you start there? Because you've seen some funny, interesting things. And shout out to others joining us. Jason, how you doing out in Colorado there?
Oh, my goodness. And I see a Minnesota person. So it seems like we're all in the snowy north, all of us today. So I hope we'll get more people from the south or somewhere where we can get some sun via them. But yeah, I think DMs, I have a whole list, Chris. So it's more like, where do you want me to start? I'll launch out one. I'll give you guys the first one is the person that makes assumptions about you. So, and you guys know what we say about assumptions. So I think that if just because my title said something, you make an assumption. And some of these people, I'm not going to say I'm mad at the sender, because there's a couple of problems. Is that, first of all, everybody's just trying to hustle and do a good job and get business. So I want to give people the benefit of the doubt that I understand their predicament. They're trying to get clients. They're trying to build their businesses. Some of them are out on commission too. So it's not just entrepreneurs doing this stuff, right? There's a lot of lead gen people being paid hourly or being paid by commission. So I'm not going to hate on these people sending these DMs. That's number one. But I do want to say that it's very misguided that you're doing your search probably with a scraping tool, not even organically, and you're picking all the people that have the title or the location, and then you're blanket messaging them with something that doesn't apply to probably 85 to even 90% of the people you're messaging. So I think what you guys have to realize is there's personalization is the keyword tonight or today, right? Personalization. It's like, take the time. Less is more. Why is it a race to get spam as many people as possible? Are you getting kudos for that? Because personally, I'm working on lead gen campaigns right now with my clients. My clients expect me to make sure that these people are going to deliver. And I'm not going to pay them because they spammed more people. I'm looking at who took the time to really send a good personalized message and really get to know the person, and then vet them before they bring them back to the home base and tell us, I think I got a fish. I think this person is a great candidate for the program. So what we do is usually cold outreach, and then phone calls. So the goal is to get them to book a time to talk to one of our people, right? About the programs we're selling, like high ticket stuff. And so personalization is everything. Like, I don't know. Can you guys does this resonate? Do you guys have any examples of this happening to you where you get a message just because you have a title and it's like so off base that it's hilarious, right?
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually bring this down to the remedial. And since we're talking about LinkedIn outreach, and it can either be on the macro or the micro. And the micro is typically more personal. But I want to say this to anyone who is here with us live or anyone under Team Replay: get a person's name right. I cannot tell you about the many times I've either been Derek or Jason. I'm one of the only Jamals that actually spells my name the way I spell it. Actually, the only Jamal on LinkedIn. It's very easy to find me. If you can't get that right, am I going to want to buy anything from you? Am I going to want to have a conversation with you? Am I going to want to, do research about your product? Probably not. In I would not even say LinkedIn. In networking one-on-one, they tell you a person's name is one of the most important things to them. Get their name right. Whoever you are, no matter what culture you're from, even ask them the pronunciation. LinkedIn's actually made it possible to do that. And this stuff is easy. So please. And I can't tell you the many people who have come in and said the person they spammed their LinkedIn thing to me with someone else's name. People have gotten males' names or females' names. It's like, my name is not Sheila. It's like, what are you doing? So I'm just going to break it down in very simple parts for those who are hearing. Get a person's name right. If you can start there, you may have a winning chance.
and maybe their pronoun too, because I've been called Mr. so many times I can't even recall. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on here with my vibe. Maybe it's time to update my profile photo.
There's nothing masculine about you, Krista. So again, it's those things that if you start there, you have very slim chances with a person that's going to want to have a conversation with you, let alone buy anything from you.
It is just because you're talking about the topics of names and all that. It's even more hysterical when you get a message. So it's pretty obvious I'm a cyclist, right? I mean, it's like it's a no-brainer. If you go to my profile, you look at the photo, I put cyclist in the title. And when I get people that message me and they're just like, hey, I got a perfect weight loss program for you. I think, Bubba, you're a perfect candidate being a busy father, blah. I'm like, now, I'm not saying there's moments in time that I need to go, that could have been a good time, but it's just such a general statement. And I'm just like, like maybe a different approach. Like, how do you tweak that? Like if you're really building a relationship and doing this authentically, maybe engage on some of my content, then come in with me. Hey, Chris, I see you're an endurance cyclist. Really respect that. I know that takes a lot of work, blah, 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 blah. We probably should collaborate on some ideas. Maybe I can help you out with some of the things you got going on with health, or maybe you can give me some tips, simple little things like that. I'd be much more open because I'm not a perfect person, right? There's definitely moments in time when I'm not in the dialed shape and I'm going to look to lose some weight. But like when somebody comes out with just a blank slam, it's like, oh my gosh, if he just took a different approach. And the reason I bring this up is because there was a moment I stepped on the scale one day. I was like, yeah, we got to fix that, right? And the next day I got that message and I'm like, little did this person know that I'm actually hot for what they probably could offer me right now. But because the approach was so screwed up, I know how to do this on my own, so I'll go do it on my own. But if they took a different approach, I would have spent money with them because it was something I wanted to drop. I think it was 12 pounds within 2 months. And like, I would have worked the program to get that done a little faster than doing it the way I know to do it. So there's an example of something I have on that
one. Speaking about approach, I want to say that some people are insulting directly. So kind of to tell you, do you need to lose weight? It's a semi-insult, right? Like, because It's like, wait a minute. Again, does my profile photo look like, that bad? And I read on LinkedIn in my feed the other day, a woman describing a bad DM experience. And I think this has happened to all of us. So I wanted to bring it up now. It's about insulting. She got a DM from a web developer, from an agency web developer person who said, I happened to go look at your website, and while the services you offer sound really nice, I've never seen a worse looking website in my life. So you better hire me now. And it was pretty much like that. And it's like, here's, SOS, book the call and I'll save you.
Wow.
And so talk about ego problems, talk about insulting a person. So, I mean, you're not going to get anybody's business. And I think that we've all been there, because as experts, like you're a sales guy, you're a therapist, I'm a marketer. There's things that may be obvious to us with our expert eagle eye from the outside that we can immediately see something that's not going right with that person. But does that person want to be fixed? And also there's that trust barrier. You can't just break through the trust barrier and get to business. You have to first build a rapport. And you never, ever, even if I had a good rapport, I would never directly insult the person. I mean, so I wanted to bring that up because it's actually happened to me too before. Something worse than that, Chris, is like, as a woman over a certain age, as a woman of a certain age, you would like to deal with your vaginal dryness. This is on LinkedIn. And I'm just curious if you want to solve that problem. If you do, book a call here. We've got solutions for you. And I'm like, okay,
wow.
talk about of all things that they would find. I'm like, first it's you're too old, you're too fat. Then they talk about your, I'm like, okay, what's next?
That right there is next level.
I have a screenshot. I have a folder with all my screenshots. I'll find it for you guys. Yeah.
Please. I mean, I think we all, and I'm sure Chris does, have screenshots. And even last week, I was speaking with April Little. We talk a lot. She's actually one of those career coaches. And it was during the time I was DMing with her. Someone just came into my DMs with 7 links selling their book to me and saying that you need to check this book out, and that my husband is this doctorate author, this, that, and the other, and the proceeds will go to putting our daughter through college. But they went on and on about themselves. And so I just typed back, I said, well, I'd like to actually get to know you all first. It says, well, and they sent me 3 more links. And then they told me about how they're just so crazy and over the hills about their husband, about the great doctor he is and the books he's written. And I said, well, I still don't know him. Well, that's a problem that you don't know who he is. And I was just like, okay. And so I said, I think I'm going to decline. They said, well, in that case, you're declining because you're uneducated. So I said, okay, I'm actually uneducated. I said, well, I just want to let you know, if your book's going to sell, you might want to be careful with the way you approach people and the way you talk to people. I said, I have no desire to even purchase the book, to even look it up, to even open the link because of your approach. I said, your approach is very nasty and you should actually be ashamed of yourself. I pray the book doesn't sell anything, so you just learn a lesson, a valuable lesson. And then after that, I just proceeded to block them because I didn't want to see them in my DMs anymore. And again, Krista knows me personally. I don't block a lot of people. That's just not my way. But it was just very sad that they felt the privilege to come into my DMs and just blast me with all these links. And then when I declined, to claim that I'm uneducated, but at the same time, they exposed their low level of education, which is sad. And I know we all have stories of just like, who are these low frequency people who have no EQ to understand how to approach someone in a simple conversation? And they look, I mean, I'm nearly 40. They looked about a little bit older than me. I'm like, you've been on this planet probably 40 plus years, and you haven't learned basic etiquette of how to have a conversation. And yet you have an MBA. What college on earth awarded this to you?
Oh, you can buy those by the dozen nowadays.
I'm sure she purchased it.
Maybe they don't even have an MBA, because some of these titles, it's like MBA of what? Like, I run a program called the Solopreneur MBA. And in the past week, I've gotten 2 DMs. Do you want to join my coaching MBA? Do you want to join? A very famous influencer on LinkedIn just launched an MBA program and is marketing like crazy about it. So the word MBA is now officially, you know, unaccredited.
Yeah. Chris, I can only imagine the examples that you
Well, I have much worse ones. I have much worse, but I want to talk one thing. Have you guys experienced people who are too good, too high above you to answer your DMs? Where it's like you thought that you were meeting somebody and you're like supporting them and you connect with them and they accept your connection, and then you want to, you know, say something to them. They just never ever answer. And then you're like, oh, maybe I'll try again. Happy birthday, or, you know, loved your post today. They just completely ignore you. But if you do the same thing in their comments of their post, in 2 seconds they answer. And it's like they're watching their, you know, their own post. But then if you want to have a conversation with them, they're too good for you. Does that ever happen to you guys?
Chris, I'll take this one just real quick. I'll take a fast pass. And Krista, you know me. It's only so much of a fool you're going to act with Jamal Marshall. So we scientifically tend to go away from that which pursues us. It's just kind of the way the brain works. And I don't know if you guys ever been around like people from other cultures, like Eastern cultures that are older, that have like a lot of wisdom. This guy named Barry is a Ghanaian guy. And he said, you know, Jamal, the way that you're designed, cease from striving. You don't have to. So I don't chase people, you know, like you think about the way you and I interact, Krista, it's just very organic. Right. The vibe is just like, and even when I interacted with Chris, when he came into the meeting, it's just very organic. These are the types, this is the frequency I function at. If it's anybody that I feel like when I connect with them, I have to pursue them, I'll leave them right where I found them. I have time that I'm running a business and I don't have energy to dedicate to chasing anyone. As I'm nearly 40, I run out of breath a lot quicker than I did when I was in my 20s. So I just don't have the time. And typically 9 times out of 10, when I send those DMs, they'll DM back. For the person who doesn't, I'd leave them where I found them, because they're telling me, like when someone sends me that, I send a message back. When someone doesn't, they're already sending you the message that I think I'm too, whatever like that, because we rate people based on the number under their names. Forgetting, like Chris and I were talking about, the number under your name is an illusion. There are people I know who have 6,000 followers who are closing out $600,000 contracts.
Absolutely.
Called the stripe alerts. The stripe alerts. Sorry, guys. I froze up for a bit. If I looked funky and I was doing stuff, I was frozen. But yeah, the stripe alerts. I was talking to Jamal about this before, and all these people that are using pods and stuff like that to get the false premise. I'm always like, what else do they cheat in their business? If they're cheating the system, what else do they cheat on the results, right? And how do you, like, especially some of them that use LinkedIn to, you know, teach people LinkedIn. Hey, let me show you how to get a lot of interaction. You're going to pay to be in this pod, and then you're going to get a lot of interaction. It's inauthentic. I mean, I was scammed into a pod back in 2017. When I realized what it was and I pulled out, all those friends that I had for like 2 months went away real fast.
So today I found a girl who has a really nice profile on LinkedIn. Doesn't look like she's been around on LinkedIn very long, but she already has almost 100K followers, and all her posts have like 4,000 likes. Like, I just went through her feed. I'm like, whoa, how come I've never seen this girl before? Okay. And I was like, I'm going to connect with her. And so then I saw that she had on her featured section, she said, I teach you how to grow on LinkedIn. That's what I do full time. I have an agency and I teach people how to grow on LinkedIn. And I actually messaged her and I said, I'm interested in finding out more about your services. And she messaged me back. She's like, I don't know what you would need, because I'm looking at your profile and I don't think we can help you. Okay. And I said, oh, yes, you can. Because if you look at my meager 19 likes on my last post and look at yours, is my quality, what's wrong with my set? I'll pay you. I said, I'll pay you. You give me 1 hour and you tell me what I'm doing wrong. And you know what she said? She said, honestly, I would be stealing your money. I can't do that because it's not me. That was her answer. And she didn't elaborate. She didn't say what was going on, but she just, and I'm like, okay, at least she was somehow honest. But I think she was very awkward. She's like, what are you reaching out to me? Like, what can, and I was like, well, of course I can learn from you. If you're getting 4,000 likes, you must be doing something differently than me. Oh, yes, she is. But apparently she doesn't want me to know what that is. So I'm like, okay. So interesting, right? Interesting what's going on LinkedIn in general with understanding what's what.
Yeah. And I want to be, Chris, you wanted to say something?
No, go ahead. You can go, and then I'll go.
I mean, I've been able to leave my corporate job as a result of building here, but also building and taking relationships off and systems and processes off the platform. So I'm grateful for LinkedIn, but I know when I first came, at least from a consensus standpoint, it was that engagement pods were illegal. I mean, even when I joined the Creator Accelerator, we got like this whole sheet decked in blue and white branding about how engagement pods were bad. And then it seemed to flip in a matter of months that LinkedIn was actually encouraging this, because when Microsoft took it over, they start turning in their metrics just like Meta, just like Instagram, just like Twitter or X or whatever they're calling it these days. And so they're now competing with these other social media platforms. And so they like the extra dwell time. And so that's the thing about it, is those of us who preach against this whole cheating the system, gaming the system, looking bigger than you are, LinkedIn is still itself actually encouraging it. So a lot of people who are in engagement pods now feel exonerated and justified in their cheating because LinkedIn actually likes it, because it causes more dwell time. Like, I'm here to actually build a business. I'm not here to stay on social media all day. I don't have that type of time.
And if you do, I would be questioning if you really are running a business, or if you're just an unemployed person who spends 8 hours a day on LinkedIn.
Exactly. You saw my post actually copying Elizabeth Redcloud's comment from my last post. It's like, you actually need to find some clients or find something to do with your time if you're here.
Something better to do with your time, right? Than spend 8 hours a day. So I think we've talked a lot about all these bad DMs, but what about we promised the audience to talk about the do's. So I think we should switch the conversation, because I think we could rant all day, but I mean, I want to be mindful of your all time too, and the audience. We should talk about what we should do on LinkedIn in terms of the DMs, because remember I said, I think that beyond this, that people have honest intentions. They're just trying to make a living. Even if they're misguided. But it is hard, isn't it? It's hard to know. It's awkward because you can't see the person. You don't know anything about them. So there's always this awkwardness for most people, unless you're like a sales pro like Chris Colt. I mean, then it's easy, right? But he's surhuman. He's not normal. Okay.
But there's still, like, even with that comment, thank you. The process, like I get people all the time, hey, what's the perfect script in the DMs? I'm like, there is none. What do you mean? There is none. I mean, there's a format, there's an outline, there's a structure to ultimately, if I didn't know Jamal, by the time Jamal gets a DM from me, but that's pretty damn good. But it's because there was a process followed before that DM came. And when you follow that process, it gets very, very easy. So I'm really big on, what I do is engage on content of people I know I ultimately want to engage with. Yeah, so there's a mission there, but it doesn't mean I'm looking at them as being a client, not necessarily. They could be a good collaborator. They could be a good partner. They could be so many other things. I don't know who they are yet. So I'll go after them a certain way, and then eventually there will be a DM, but it's going to be a very structured and focused DM. And quite frankly, if I've had enough engagement with them, I'm one to send a video or an audio message. Why? Because they know it's me. And I put content on LinkedIn so people see me on video. So that's one of the things I do a lot. And, I coach clients on doing 5-day challenges all the time. And one of the biggest things is, how do you get people into a virtual event, right? It's the biggest challenge you're ever going to deal with out there. I don't care how well designed your program is. How do you get the right people into your event? And I have a whole qualification process that we use through content strategy and then DM strategy to make sure that person going into that event is the right person. Now, here's the thing. People don't like this part. You hear no more than you hear yes. Sometimes that does shift. But you get a lot of people that don't respond because you don't send the message right. When you do it correctly, we get about, and when I have a client dialed, they get about 8 out of 10 responses back. And then the 2, that's just human nature, right? Not everybody's going to respond to you.
I love
that. So
that.
do you have to bribe them? You have to say, like, if you respond, you're going to get a cookie. We're giving away.
There might be some of that.
I love that answer, Chris. And I will say, and again, we all know as three entrepreneurs and business owners, there's seasons of sowing and seasons of reaping. Sometimes you have to really sow, grind, go with the outbound outreach. And then sometimes you post enough content and move in a certain way where you get a lot of inbound leads and you can close those and convert those. However, from an outbound standpoint, I would say for anyone on Team Replay and those who are here, take advantage of your warm audience. And if you design your content in a certain way, and it could be as my background in more of the therapy, mental health side, that's going to be resonant, industry agnostic. And so if a person keeps showing up, you already have a warm audience where you can come into their DMs because they've engendered trust with you. They look forward to seeing your content. They want to hear you. They've rung the bell. They're already kind of bought into it to a certain extent. And if not them, their second and third connections who are lurking are definitely bought in. Because sometimes it's not always those who interact, it's those who don't. And that's when you can send the video. For me, because I started off doing a lot of video. I do more print now. I have like so much video in the vault. I have content till 2027. But
you're a TikToker too, aren't you, Jamal? We know the truth. We know the truth about you.
So do video so people can see you emote, so they can hear your voice. The frequency of who you are is resonant with them. Then you can come into those DMs and you're more likely to hear stuff back with your warm audience versus someone who has never even thought about interacting with your content. Like when Krista talked about that thing, the scraping tools, it's like these people don't know you. They don't know you from Adam. They don't know you from a can of paint. And so use your warm audience and design the conversation in a certain way, take an interest in them. You know, like we talked about the cringy DMs, some of the do's are talk about what matters to them. So when you go to their profile, and if they are creating content, because everyone on LinkedIn is not creating content, you get to see what matters to them. And one thing people love is talking about themselves. And I understand human behavior, so I can get people talking about themselves like that. That actually works in my favor because it's like, okay, if I'm asking the questions and you're giving the answers, then I know how to navigate this in a certain way. So for me, I have to change from Jamal mode, which is mostly empathic, left side of the brain, to right side Chris mode. Okay, now we go for the close, or we build and turn it into a second conversation. And so there's a way to, create a narrative. But I would say this for anyone listening: don't create a narrative that you don't plan on following through on. If you don't want to coach this person, you don't want to work with them, or you don't want to bring them into a cohort, and this is more of a number because you have quota to meet, that's not going to be sustainable, and they're going to end up getting a bad product, and then you get a bad review. Don't shoot yourself in the foot.
Well, you know what else? And I know Krista could run with this. When I say what's about, Krista, I know you can run with this one from the message you send outbound. That first time you send it, that is your brand represented. So in my opinion, it better be one damn good message. Because you know what? Marnie, who's on here, doesn't know me from Adam, right? If my first DM to her is, hey, this, here, like, she's going to remember me for that message is my brand. Oh, that guy's a knucklehead. He sent me this. So that's just some insight for you, those of you sitting on here. The message you're about to send, just look at it from, this is my brand perspective. What do I want them to think of? And if you send a nasty message that's crazy that you shouldn't send, or cold, it says a lot about your brand versus something that's really thought out and almost customized in some shape or form. And that's the thing. It's not a numbers game at that point. So everybody thinks this is a numbers game. I come from a sales background. I got canned from jobs because I never played the numbers game. I played a quality game, right? And that's what this is, quality. People are people, and you're building relationships with real human beings.
Absolutely love that.
On this replay are gonna rewind and listen, because you two have just dropped some major truth bombs, and I think that it's just hard to put it into practice for a lot of people. I mean, I personally had to go back and forth and experiment. And the beautiful thing now I'm going to say as a marketer, right? You don't have to guess, you have to try, and the audience will tell you if you were right or wrong. And that's something that not many people want to hear. So I have people who are putting out the same content that's not working over and over, and they're using the same strategies that doesn't get them results, but they don't want to step outside and listen to what the audience is saying. And so what I have to do a lot of times is remind my clients, your content you think it's about you. You think just because it's you putting it out there and maybe the video, it's your face, but no, you have to have a reader. You have to design an ideal reader. Who is that person who you're putting out content for? And the more authentic you can speak to that one person, the more when you do DM people, it will resonate because they'll be like, oh, I see how you show up. You know, I check out your content. And I think Jamal and Chris, you guys are really good examples of people who, if I just go through your profile a little bit, if you DM me, I already feel like I know a little bit about you. And so people listening, please try to think about that when you put out new content is, does your content really speak to one person? And I know it's hard because I used to want to help everybody. But as a marketer, I know I have to design my ideal buyer journey and I have to have my ideal customer avatar. And you're going to learn who's the right person. And that's it. Then you do all your content speaking to that person, heart to heart. As if I'm just speaking to one person. These people aren't your fans. You're not an influencer. Screw that. We're making money here. We're business owners. So we just need to speak to that one person who we really want to work with. And the more you focus on doing that every day, the more you'll see immediately you'll get more results.
Mic drop.
Yep.
This is why I love Krista. This is what endeared me to her. You may not like what she has to say, but she's very direct and she's right. So, we're both very, very direct in different ways, but it's the truth. And this is the truth that's not popular on LinkedIn because LinkedIn wants to get just eyes on their platform. But if you're here to do business, and even if you're a career person, I mean, I have clients that are six-figure earners that are developing side gigs. I have clients that are just regular entrepreneurs that have their own business. If you're in the developmental stages, this is what you want to hear so that you don't end up wasting time and energy.
Yeah. Yeah. I could talk about this all day, but I know we all have a bunch of meetings today. So why don't we just one more quick round robin, like 1 minute tipper. We'll go to Jamal first. So we'll start with Jamal, Krista, and I'll close this out. But we appreciate you all coming in today. Let us know if you got some value out of this. If you're on replay or live, we really appreciate it. There was definitely a lot. I mean, this whole thing, but the last 15 minutes, there were some mic drops, many of them. So go ahead, Jamal. What's one more like quick tip you can give out to the crowd out here?
Well, I love what Krista said about focusing on the do's. And even though the DMs can be a really shaky place, do be careful to not rate who's coming into your DMs because sometimes that's where the next opportunity comes from. And we all talk about taking clients, but sometimes partnerships, strategic partnerships are huge. And so if you say, well, this person doesn't have 60,000 followers or they're not a big time influencer, that person can connect you with millionaires and billionaires. But because you rated them based on what you thought you saw, because you got brainwashed and drank the LinkedIn Kool-Aid, you may skip a great opportunity that was full of revenue and full of great relationships. So I would say, do be careful and mindful with the way that you rate who's coming into your DMs, because some people come in because they've been resonating with you and your greatest opportunity is right on the other side of that.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah. Mic drop.
So for me, from my side, I want to leave y'all with my final message is my 3x3 rule. All right. Because it's so simple to remember. So let's say you only put in 30 minutes a day. Anything above 30 minutes a day, you're working overtime. That's you're off the clock. But if you can give me 30 minutes a day, at least 3 times a week, which I think everyone can find who's serious about building a business, to just focus on having conversations, not posting, not obsessively refreshing your screen to see if you got a new like on your post. So it's not about me. When I say 30 minutes, 3 times a week, I want you, if you have to put on a stopwatch and go 10 minutes long where you only have conversations with people, and then you do it again, and then you do it at night. So you do it like in the morning, at lunch, at night, so you space it out. You can do this both in the comments and in the DMs. But if you do that 3 times a week, and that just becomes a reflex, like Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, those are the days that I really try to have conversations with people. You'll see a massive, massive difference in your LinkedIn within 3 months, because 3 is the magic number. And that's the last thing. You have to keep things up. What I see people doing is hop in. They're like, oh, I'll do that. And if it doesn't work by next Tuesday, then, I'm not going to do it anymore. So have you guys ever tried to achieve anything in your life? Everything is hard. But the main rule is you have to do something. If you do anything for 90 days, I guarantee you will become a new person. You do something for 30 days, you're going to pat yourself on the back. You're going to be like, I did it for 30 days. You do it for 60 days, you're going to want to quit, because 60 days, you're like, I've been doing this. You do it for 90 days, you come back and see me, and you tell me if you didn't get results.
Mike drops again. And I mean, it's true. Like, I'm actually, the fact you said this, I'm tracking very specific things I'm doing for 100 days right now. So like I have 4 things I do, and I can do them no more than 30 minutes a day. And they're my first things get done. And that's one of them. But I guess to bring this together, I'll just, what Chris is saying about the 3 by rule and taking off what Jamal said. Here's the one thing, you heard this. There's no secret to this. When you go to the DM point with individuals, and my preference is video or audio, not going to deny that, because I go in there, I don't go in cold, so I'm not afraid to go put that out there, but it just leaves a different message. Think about what's important to them. So I'm going to give you a simple question right now that I ask people that works very well, and you're going to understand why. And then this is after an engaged person. Don't go out there and cold message 100 people today and say, oh, man, that was a great message. If I didn't know Krista and her and I were getting to know each other, the simple question I'm going to ask her, hey, Krista, what's the one big goal you're trying to achieve by the end of the year? Okay. Now, if I started authentic conversations with people, most are going to respond to that, and they're going to write a book. And they're going to be like, anybody that can help me, boom, 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 boom. Or they're going to ask me back, well, what's one of your big goals, Chris? Right? And I'm prepared how I answer that. Guys, I'm telling you, that's the simplest question. Nobody does it, but it's all about the other person at the start. All about the other person. And right now, it's the easiest question to ask if you don't know somebody. So there's your final mic drop. Don't send that cold to 100 people today, because it won't work. You've got to be in the zone with people.
Tomorrow morning, Chris, we're going to get in our inboxes like 7 different ones, and they're all going to have watched this live, and they're like going to ask me.
If we all get that, will be funny. We'll put a screenshot up. Oh my gosh, that would be hysterical. But it is funny. That tip I gave, we did that years ago when we were in a sales team on a final run on things, and it worked so well, but it wasn't a numbers game. Like the person that coached us with that question said, "This is not a numbers game. Listen, don't listen to your managers right now. Focus on the right people, build it authentically, and ask it, and watch what happens." And man, the answers we got, it was like, we can solve that. Oh, they can solve it. They can solve it. So like, I like getting that answer, because if Jamal gives me an answer and I can't help, Krista can help. And Jamal's more open to listening to me at that point if it's there. So it's a gold mine question.
Love it. Wow. This was great. I really appreciate you inviting us on, Chris, and doing all the hard work of organizing. This has been great. And I love seeing you, Jamal. It's such a pleasure to see both of you on camera. And let's have an amazing 2024. All 3 of us and everyone listening, because I just have this amazing presumption that 2024 is the year. There we go. There we go, my friend. Seriously, we're gonna rock it in 2024, and we're gonna do it with love, with authenticity, and with intention. No random, dear sir, Chrissy, Colt. I don't know what. No. Everything will be very intentional about what we do. No numbers games, just really smooth, right?
That's a great place to end it, because that's what's going to happen.
So we appreciate
Krista said so it must be true.
Yeah. It must be. You'll get that DM tomorrow too. No. So we thank you all for tuning in today and listening. Let's see. We got a bunch out there. We got Marnie, you've been on with us, I think, the whole time. So great having you out there. We got Justin on there. We got, I don't know who this LinkedIn user is, but that was a long one that you wrote. I don't think they'll let me put this up here. Yeah, I can't put the other one up there. So no, can't get you up there, LinkedIn user. Sorry. But no, we really, truly appreciate all your interaction out there. This was great. We will see you all on LinkedIn. You know where to find us. And don't be sending us that question. Well, you can if you want. You can have some fun. I'll answer it.
You better know our names. That's all I'm saying. Okay.
Yeah.
And our and no vaginal dryness questions. That's it.
Oh my God. It's time to cut this off now.
I get more of those, and I'm reporting you. That's it.
Dear Lord. God bless you guys.
Bye guys. Great seeing y'all.